The sun peeking through the trees at dawn as the woods come alive.
The sights and smells of fall as you walk to your tree stand.
The thunder of a turkey gobble.
The crunching of leaves as a deer approaches.
Finding the shed of a buck you've been chasing for years.
The mixed feelings we have after harvesting an animal.
This is hunting. Hey guys, what is going on? Dave Ashworth here, and if you're like me, you are either in the middle of turkey season or you're gearing up for turkey season. And Corey did a video the other day where he walked through everything that he puts in his turkey vest and that he takes into the turkey woods, and I wanted to do the same. I look up these videos myself all the time to see what other people are taking, to try to learn new things, learn some tips from gear that they take into the woods that they feel like can help them. So let's dive into what I take into the turkey woods. So first I want to start out with the camera gear. I'm not going to go through that too much, but the main camera that I'm using this year is the Sony, and it's the Sony Z90. This is a new camera for me this year. I still have my mirrorless, which I'm shooting on, but I'm going to be using this because I'm going to be doing a lot of self-filming this year. This has a lot of things that are made for self-filming, a flip-out screen, built-in NDs, all sorts of things. I normally would have my wireless mic on the top here, so I'd be wearing that, which I am now. And then I have my shotgun mic just to capture really good audio. So this is going to be my main camera for this year. In addition to that, I will bring in a GoPro, and it has just a little clamp on it, so I can just clamp it to my tripod, I can clamp it to a branch, and then I can also carry this and do a little vlogging as I'm walking just to capture some other stuff. So this is kind of my secondary. Sometimes I'll take this out, sometimes I won't, but it is nice to have. GoPro came out with this new light, which is awesome, and look how small this thing is. And so when I'm kind of hiking in the morning, this light is awesome to have just to be pointing it and filming myself with. And then just a couple other things that I'll take, extra batteries, obviously. I have a mount that I can mount on my gun or my bow, depending on what I'm taking in. And so I don't know if I'll use this or not, but I do have this. And then the last thing is my tripod. Now, one project that I'm gonna be working on this year, and I can show you guys that when I'm done, but I'm gonna work on kind of camouflaging this. So have like some leafy material that I'm gonna kind of put on this and maybe zip tie it on so that this becomes much more camouflage and harder to see. But that's kind of the extent of my camera gear. So next is my weapon. So I use, I'll be using a shotgun this year. This is my Browning shotgun. It's a Browning Maxus. I've had this gun for, man, probably 5 or 6 years, and it has been awesome. I use it for all types of hunting, and that's like my go-to in the turkey woods. Typically, if I'm gonna be sitting in a blind, I might grab my bow, but doing a lot of running gun this year, that's gonna be my go-to. One thing new for me this year, like Corey, is a turkey vest. I've never had one, but I've been getting into more kind of running gun as opposed to just sitting on a field edge or sitting in a blind. So I wanted to get a turkey vest, and this is the one that I researched and found. This is I believe it's the Alps Grand Slam, and I'll tell you why I chose this one for, there's a couple reasons. One is the stand that it has. So if you could see on the bottom here, see if you could see that, there's a stand. So you can literally just sit down, and you have the seat that flips around. So the seat flips around, and then you sit, and you can literally have like a stand behind you, and you can just sit and relax back. And you don't need a tree, you don't need anything. You can just sit wherever you want. So that was one of the things that I really liked about this vest. You can also take the stand out and just use it as a vest. And so I'm gonna try it with the stand. Definitely add some weight, but I feel like being able to just kind of plop down wherever I need to, it's gonna really help. Obviously the fold out seat is really nice. There's a big pocket in the back here where I will keep a decoy. So depending on the hunt, I will carry either a single Jake or a single hen. And so here's a hen. I use the Avian X decoys. I love how they look. They blow up and they're pretty lightweight, but these things are super durable. I've had these for quite a while now. So usually just one decoy, so I'll throw that in this back pocket. And then there's all sorts of pockets throughout the vest for calls. You have some pot calls you can put in here, put some of your mouth calls in here. There's a spot for a box call. But I'm pretty excited about this vest to try it out this year for more running gun stuff. So now let's take a look at some of the things that I put inside the vest. So before I look at everything that I put inside, I want to touch on two things. Two things. One, so my binoculars. Usually I have like a bino harness, so I'll be wearing these pretty much anytime I go into the woods, turkey season, deer season, scouting, shed hunting, whatever, I have these on. This is like one of my main things I use because you can look at things in a distance without having to walk over there, but especially in turkey season when you're maybe glassing fields or woods, these are key. So I do not leave home without these. Second thing is this is just some insect repellent that you spray on clothes. This is made by Sawyer. Ticks have been really bad this year and I always get tons of ticks, so I decided to get some of this to spray my clothes down, so hopefully I won't have to worry about ticks quite as much. And then the last thing that's not necessarily like in my vest, it'll actually be on my head, is my headlamp. I use my headlamp when I'm not near where the turkeys are roosting, but as I start to get closer, I typically try to cut my light and just walk in the dark. You kind of have to balance it out a little bit because you don't want to be walking in the dark and making a bunch of noise, but you also don't want to be going in, shining a light and they see you and then your hunt's pretty much over before it started. So do need a headlamp though to at least get into the general direction where you're going. One of the things that I like to carry, I started this last year, is just this little tiny book. And this is it's called Write in the Rain, if you can see that or not. And I like to just take notes on every single hunt I go on. And I write things like the weather. I write things where I saw turkeys, where I heard turkeys. Was it windy? Was it cloudy? Was it sunny? And then I can go back and look at time of year and see what actually happened. And then, so this is my turkey book from 2019. I also have a deer one from 2019. And then I'll do another one this year. But as I'm going to hunt this year, I'll go back and look at some of my early season hunts as I'm getting into that and see where I was hearing turkeys, see where, maybe I was seeing turkeys, and that might help me put some pieces together. So this is something I started last year and I've really enjoyed that. This, absolute key. I was not a believer in these for a long time. Corey introduced me and said, dude, you gotta get a Thermacell. These things are awesome. Probably 2 years ago, I got one, and this thing has been a lifesaver. Especially in the spring, I will not go into the woods without this. Whenever I get to my spot, I get this thing lit, plop it on the ground, and there's just not bugs around, which is incredible. And so if you do not have one of these, they're not super expensive. I would highly recommend getting a Thermacell to take with you in the woods, especially in the spring. So let's continue moving, move into some calls, and that's probably the extent of what I have in here after that. One's just a crow call, a locator call. I sometimes keep like an owl call, but I don't do a ton of that. More so a crow in the middle of the day than an owl call. And then onto the calls. So my favorite call is this pot call. Same as Corey uses, it's made by Mouthy Maynard Calls. Just a local guy around here, but his calls are awesome. This is just an aluminum pot call. I have a little Brillo pad here that I kind of rough it up, and then a striker. So I just carry one pot call and one striker. I also have a box call, and this is one that my wife got me as a wedding present. I don't even know who it's made here. It says Cody Wild Turkey Call Company. So this is a very nice custom call, and I want to touch on that really quick as well. If you're hunting high pressured land and birds are getting called to all the time, one thing that you can do to even the score a little bit is maybe look into getting a custom call. Everybody has their the big name calls, the primos, I forget some of the other ones, but turkeys get used to hearing those over and over. So if you potentially switch to a custom call, something that they haven't heard before, not necessarily that it sounds better. I think some of them do sound better, but it's not necessarily that it sounds better, it just sounds different than what other people are using. So just a tip, if you're having trouble getting turkeys to respond, on public land, high pressured land, maybe look into a turkey call. I'll keep a little chalk here with this box call. So that's the 2 calls, the pot call and the box call. And then I keep a handful of diaphragm calls. Typically I'll almost always have one in my mouth. They're great because if a turkey's coming in, I don't have to do any movement with my hands. I could be holding my gun, holding my camera. And if I need to call, I have it in my mouth. And then I like a bunch of different ones. They can all be cut different, a little more raspy, a little higher pitch, easier to cut, easier to yelp, whatever it might be. Every call's a little bit different. And so I bring a bunch of those in with me and usually always have one in my mouth during turkey season. I think that's pretty much it that I take into the turkey woods. It seems like a lot, but you kind of pack it into the vest and everything has its place and it seems to work out pretty well. So hopefully this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. I'd love to hear what you guys are taking into the woods with you, what you pack out your turkey vest with. And I hope you guys have a great turkey season. We look forward to seeing some of your successes.